Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or The Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going in depth into my week number 15 running back start or sit decisions. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. Today's video is being brought to you guys by DraftKings Sportsbook. We're going to be talking about a great deal that they have for you guys a little bit later. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 15. Crazy, that's already week 15. Running back start or sit decisions. We begin with Thursday Night Football. The San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. In this matchup, the only running back I want to be starting is Christian McCaffrey. Now, without Deebo Samuel in this game, I do think the team is going to look to ramp up Christian McCaffrey's workload even further as a big target on this team, and especially with Brock Purdy under center, who is a very young quarterback. Obviously, this is his rookie year. I do think that we're going to see Christian McCaffrey continue to see a bunch of targets, because if you're a rookie quarterback, you're Mr. Irrelevant, and you can dump the ball off to Christian McCaffrey, you're probably going to do it a bunch, especially up against the Seattle Seahawks defense. Jordan Mason is his handcuff, but he is a sit in this matchup. The Seattle Seahawks will likely be without Kenneth Walker, so they're going to go with Travis Homer as well as Tony Jones Jr. It's pretty clear that Travis Homer is the number one back without Kenneth Walker, but he is not really start-worthy here up against an incredibly stout 49ers defense. Next up, we move to the Indianapolis Colts at the Minnesota Vikings, the first of 3 games on Saturday. This one is a bit of a no-brainer here. We're going to be starting both Jonathan Taylor as well as Dalvin Cook. Now, last week, Dalvin Cook shit the bed big time up against the Detroit Lions. Dalvin Cook's performance was absolutely embarrassing. His yards per attempt was extremely low, and it was very hard to watch because it's not like he was playing up against the 49ers or one of the teams that has a really good run defense, the Eagles with Davis, right? Those are some great run defenses. If Dalvin Cook shit the bed in that spot, you'd be like, you know what? It is what it is, right? That was a tough matchup for him. But no, this was up against the garbage Detroit Lions defense, and Dalvin Cook had an atrocious game. Though this week up against the Indianapolis Colts, I think you'd be crazy to sit Dalvin Cook. Jonathan Taylor has looked so much better as of recently, basically ever since Jeff Saturday took over as the head coach of the team. Jonathan Taylor has performed much better. The Minnesota Vikings defense is really bad against the pass. They're not terrible against the run, but I still think Jonathan Taylor is obviously going to be a must-start in this game, and I'm going to be sitting both of their backup running backs. Alexander Mattison has virtually zero relevance unless Dalvin Cook gets hurt, knock on wood, we don't root for injuries, and Deion Jackson is Jonathan Taylor's backup. Next up, we move to the second game on Saturday, the Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns. It has been very, very interesting to see that with Deshaun Watson under center, that it feels as though the Cleveland Browns have went away from just pounding the rock with 9-inch Nicholas Chubb. It seems like now that Deshaun Watson is back, that the team has tried to throw the ball a little bit more. They're kind of getting away from the identity of a team that they have been for what feels like the last 3 or 4 years, a team that wants to run the ball at an incredibly high rate. And instead of a lot of Nick Chubb, we're seeing a decent amount more of Kareem Hunt mix in to this backfield. Now, even with that said, I still don't really trust Kareem Hunt enough to be willing to start him, so he's going to be a sit. And again, even though I have kind of talked negatively about Nick Chubb, this is one of the better matchups for a running back up against the Ravens. I do really hope this can be a bounce back game for my guy 9-inch Nicholas Chubb. Now, last week, I was incredibly hesitant to roll out J.K. Dobbins. I thought, you know what, he's come back off the injury. Maybe he's rolling himself out a little bit too early. They have Huntley under center. This week, the quarterback situation is pretty unknown. I would be fucking perplexed completely if Lamar Jackson started. So it's either going to be Huntley or Anthony Brown. I think J.K. Dobbins is still a start-worthy player because of just how bad the Browns are up against the run, but it's still very clear watching the tape when you watch the game last week that J.K. Dobbins isn't fully back. Like, he's back, he's able to run the ball pretty effectively, but there were some plays where if you watch J.K. Dobbins back a couple years ago, J.K. Dobbins would have made a cut in certain spots, right? He would have tried to wiggle a little bit around, but he wasn't really doing that last week, and that does worry me somewhat. J.K. Dobbins is far from an ideal start, in my opinion. Gus Edwards is going to be seeing touches as well. It's not like J.K. Dobbins is the workhorse running back on this team, but at the same time, you don't really want to be starting Gus Edwards, especially since there are no teams on bye this week, and again, Kareem Hunt is a sit. Next up, we move to the final game on Saturday, the Miami Dolphins at the No One Circles the Wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Now, this game is projected to have snow of up to 7 inches. Now, the Dolphins suffered an injury at the running back position. Jeff Wilson Jr. ended up missing a majority of that Dolphins game up against the LA Chargers, but it was very clear in that game that Jeff Wilson Jr. has almost lost his starting role to Raheem Mostert. Now, it's pretty up in the air right now on if Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to be able to be good to go on Saturday or not, but even if he does play, I think I'd feel a little bit more confident in Raheem Mostert and Mike McDaniel, pal. If we, and I say we like as if I'm on the team, but I am on the team at this point. I've been cheering for these bastards for like 23 years at this point. If we don't run the ball against the Buffalo Bills, we are going to fucking lose, especially in the snow. So please, Mike McDaniel, hand the rock to my guy, Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert's kind of one of those bottom of the barrel, bottom shelf running backs here. Devin Singletary as well as James Cook are pretty interesting because just like the Dolphins, the Bills are going to have to run the ball if it is snowing during the game, especially if there's like 7 inches of snow on the ground. Now, obviously, this is a situation that's pretty tough to decipher because both Devin Singletary and James Cook are pretty good, and entering into this game, they're playing up against one of the tougher run defenses in the NFL in the Miami Dolphins. So while this is technically a game where I think we're to see a decent amount of Singletary and Cook, I'm just staying away from them because the Dolphins defense is really solid against the run. Next up, we move to the Sunday slate, beginning with the Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. Now, it should be interesting to see how the Atlanta Falcons look with Desmond Ridder under center, but ultimately, that doesn't really move the needle too much for me on Cordero Patterson. I still do believe that he is an incredibly talented player, but the problem is, this is like a 4-headed fucking dragon backfield in Atlanta. They use Algier, they use Huntley, they use Patterson, and I'm sure Desmond Ridder is going to try to run the ball a little bit as well. This is a situation that I'm staying clear away from right now until maybe we see up against the Saints that, hey, now the team wants to go back to what they did last year. Maybe now with Ridder under center, they're going to go ahead and throw the ball a bunch to Cordero Patterson, and then maybe Cordero Patterson ends up being a league winner. But right now, we're just going to watch from the side. We're going to leave him on our bench. When it comes to the Saints, Alvin Kamara is the guy, but Alvin Kamara has been abysmal over the last couple of games. Alvin Kamara has been basically skull fucking your team, and it has been hard to watch because we all know deep down that Alvin Kamara has the upside to literally get 30 points in this game. 40 points in this game, right? Alvin Kamara has that good of a skill set where if he scored 4 touchdowns in a game, no one would be shocked, especially up against a putrid Atlanta Falcons defense. But what I will tell you is that I'm not banging the fucking drum aggressively for Alvin Kamara. I'm not screaming to the mountaintops that, hey, you got to start Alvin Kamara, because right now, based upon what we have seen recently, this guy has been fucking atrocious. David Johnson would be his backup. He's going to be a sit as well. Shout out to my guy, though, David Johnson. I love David Johnson, former fantasy football legend. Next up, we move to the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Carolina Panthers here, and I'm going to keep things incredibly simple here. The Panthers use a 3-headed dragon running back approach. They have Donta Foreman, they have Chuba Hubbard, and they have a man named Blackshear, which is just one of the sickest names. Like, aside from Zonovan Knight, Blackshear, that sounds like a fucking character in Skyrim. Like, imagine fighting the final boss in a video game and the guy's name is Blackshear. Unless you did a couple of side quests, that dude is going to beat you to a fucking pulp. So when it comes to this game, I'm staying away from the Panthers running backs right now, again, because I think this is going to be a 3-headed backfield. The Steelers defense is relatively solid, so this is just a clear stay away from me. Najee Harris will be a start in this game. The Panthers defense is actually pretty decent up against the run, but it's not like they saw a really run-heavy game plan from the Seattle Seahawks last week because Kenneth Walker was out. I think Najee Najee Harris is start worthy. Again, at this point in the season, we're not expecting greatness out of Najee Harris. We're playing him. We're expecting, hey, if this guy gets like 15 points, that's great. He's probably going to get me 10. He's probably not going to sink the metaphorical fucking ship of my team, but he's also probably not going to put the team on his back like he did at points in last season. Before we pivot on into the rest of the games, we have to talk about the best sponsorship in the world, the partner of today's video, DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, if you're a brand new user to DraftKings Sportsbook and click on the link in the video description or in the pinned comment, they have a great offer for you. If you bet $5 on any sport pregame money line from now until December 30th, you will win $150 in free bets if your team wins. Notice how I said if your team wins. So with college football coming to a close here, I think the best way to find the largest favorites is in the college basketball market. Texas Tech minus 2,100 versus Eastern Washington. It was on the screen so you could see it. Again, all you had to do was navigate to the top left of the screen on DraftKings, click on college basketball, and then just select Texas Tech money line minus 2,100. Bet $5 on that, and you will receive $150 in free bets as long as that bet wins. Also important to note that if you live in Maryland and you activate this offer, you will actually receive $200 in free bets. So make sure that you guys check that out. Again, you have to be a new user to the sportsbook, but if you click on the link in the video description, you will get that offer. And again, I would make sure to take advantage of it now before it's too late, because again, it's going to disappear on December 30th. Next up, we pivot to the Philadelphia Eagles at the Chicago Bears. Now, Miles Sanders is coming off an insane game up against the Giants. He basically fucked the Giants from the back without the use of any lube or even the common courtesy to spit a little bit on it before fucking them deeply into the night. Miles Sanders now gets the Chicago Bears defense, one of the worst defenses all around in the National Football League. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to slap the ever-living shit out of the Chicago Bears defense, and the Eagles defense is also pretty good against the run, so David Montgomery isn't necessarily an upper echelon start. He's kind of in the same range. He's slightly above the range of a guy like Najee Harris that we just talked about, where like you play David Montgomery, I'm not really expecting a crazy amount up against a tough defense like the Eagles, but if he was playing up against, not the Eagles, he was playing up against, for instance, a team that's bad against the run. So say he's playing up against his own defense, the Bears. Maybe he could score 25 plus points. We're not expecting that here up against the Eagles, but I also don't expect him to, even though the Eagles' run defense is tough, I think the Bears' offense is good enough to where David Montgomery won't really sink your team. Miles Sanders, though, levels above David Montgomery. When it comes to the other running backs in this game, Kenneth Gainwell, they also have Boston Scott for the Eagles. One of those bastards is bound to score every couple of games, but again, ultimately, Miles Sanders is the guy. Without Khalil Herbert, who is projected to be back in week number 16, they have Darrington Evans as well as Tristan Ebner behind David Montgomery. Those guys don't really concern me too much, so we're going to continue to roll with David Montgomery, but again, not the most confident in Montgomery. I'm very confident in Miles Sanders, though. Next up, we got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Houston Texans. Now, the Houston Texans had to have been the biggest surprise of last week for, I would say, most people. The two biggest surprises of last week had to have been the Texans keeping the game close with the Dallas Cowboys, as well as Russell Wilson actually looking competent, and the Broncos keeping it close with the Chiefs. Obviously, Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, ended up getting hurt in that game, and obviously the Texans ended up losing. But very interesting, the Texans are going to be without Dameon Pierce this week. Feels bad, man. I know that it's not like you were hitching the fucking wagon to Dameon Pierce and he was going to march you up Mount Everest to win your fantasy football championship, but he was a solid piece on your team. You play him every week. I know he wasn't fucking kicking the door down, FBI open up type deal, but he wasn't terrible. Like, he had that upside in him. He had that dog in him, and we're not going to see him this week. We're going to see Sexy Rexy Burkhead and Dare Ogunbowale. If you have Dameon Pierce, your waivers shouldn't have ran yet if you're watching this on Tuesday nights. Obviously, I didn't know Dameon Pierce was going to be out when I recorded the waiver wire video yesterday, so if you have Pierce, I would suggest going with Ogunbowale, but we don't really know exactly who the true Dameon Pierce replacement is going to be, probably until we actually see them fucking playing on the field on Sunday. Isaiah Pacheco is going to be a start for me, but back to what I was saying, Dario Ogunbowale and Rex Burkhead are not really starts. Unless you're in a true pickle, then you can go with them. Isaiah Pacheco is a start. Now, Jerick McKinnon obviously went fucking bananas last week up against the Denver Broncos. This guy absolutely went balls deep into that defense. His best performance of the year by far, and his best performance in what feels like the last couple of years. Isaiah Pacheco is still the guy on the team, so he's a start-worthy running back, and he's a guy that up against a garbage Houston Texans defense, we just saw Tony Pollard run fucking train on them. I'm sure Isaiah Pacheco could have a great game. Jerick McKinnon's a little bit sneaky. If you're in like a 14-team league, I would understand the thought process in starting Jerick McKinnon, but if you're in a normal 10, 12-man league, and again, there's no teams on bye this week, it's week 15, unless you're dealing with some crazy injuries, I'd probably just kind of fade away from McKinnon, because I think a lot of people are going to be like, holy shit, I saw what happened last week, let me play McKinnon, and then McKinnon's going to get like 3 rushes, 4 catches, 30 combined yards. He's going to have like 8 fantasy points or something, right? And then Pacheco is going to get like 15. So I'm staying clear away from McKinnon, but I get the argument if you want to have an argument about it. Like, I understand the upsides there. Again, the Texans defense is absolute dick cheese. Next up, we move to the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. Again, the Dallas Cowboys coming off of a disappointing win. The Jaguars triumphed over the Titans. Derrick Henry was running train early, but at the end of the game, Trevor Lawrence and Evan Ingram teabagged the fucking defense of the Titans. Tony Pollard went crazy. He went sicko mode, as the kids say. That's like a really bad joke. Sicko mode. Like, what is this, fucking 2019, whatever that shit, 2018 when that thing came out. Mo Bamba, baby. But Tony Pollard went off. Insane in the membrane, as the old heads would say. The Jaguars defense is not very good. This game, you can smell it through the screen. It reeks of points. It reeks of an incredibly high-scoring tit-for-tat, rock'em sock'em robots affair. I love Tony Pollard in this game. It really feels like he's taken the reins, like he's fucking Santa Claus. Because Santa Claus has the reins, when he's fucking riding in his sleigh. You get what I'm saying, though, and Tony Pollard is fucking Rudolph. He's the main reindeer here in this scenario that we're talking about right now that we imagined in our head while recording. Tony Pollard is that guy. I'm starting him, but Zeke is still going to get touches, and I continue to talk about this every single week. That fat fuck, Mike McCarthy, the head coach of the team, is still going to keep rolling Zeke out there. And Zeke's inevitably going to just fall into the end zone every once in a while, so he is still a start-worthy guy, but I definitely like Tony Pollard better than him. Travis Etienne Jr. has been awful. Abysmally bad. The matchup against Dallas isn't the best. Again, this game does reek of points, so I'm fine starting Etienne, but he's nowhere near what he was like once James Robinson left. It was like, holy shit, Travis Etienne, a league winner. And now it's like, Travis Etienne, do I even want to start you kind of a scenario? JaMychal Hasty is going to be a sit. But again, another sick name, JaMychal Hasty. That guy's just got to be fast. But he's a sit. Next up, we got the Detroit Lions at the New York Jumbo Jets in MetLife. A must-win game for probably both teams. Jamal with 2 A's, Williams, and DeAndre Swift went silent into the night up against the Vikings. Shout out to Santa Claus yet again. But this should be a game where I think they strike back a little bit and have a much better game. Definitely more confident in Jamal Williams, though, compared to DeAndre Swift. This is a worse version of Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. Donovan Knight has been unreal. His PFF stats, he's been like a top 5 running back in a lot of categories over the last 3 or 4 games. The Lions defense is abysmally bad against the run. I know Dalvin Cook shit the bed last week, but Donovan Knight Bam Knight himself has been running hot, so I'm going to continue to ride that hot streak. We talked about that in the wide receiver start sit video that you should probably watch with Christian Watson. You got to ride the heat. If a guy's on fire, I'm going to continue to start him. Donovan Knight is the definition of fucking fire. The guy is super hot fire right now, so I'm starting him. Michael Carter is a sit. I know a lot of people last week, they were kind of stuck starting Michael Carter. I basically said Michael Carter wasn't going to do good. I thought Donovan Knight was the guy, and that was the case. Next up, we got the Denver Broncos. Broncos country, let's ride. Going up against the Arizona Cardinals at home in Denver. James Conner had a solid performance last week. I think his performances going forward, though, are going to be limited by the fact that Kyler's hurt. Now, I know Kyler didn't play in that game. He played like 3 fucking snaps before he tore his ACL, which sucks, but let's be honest. This game, Brett Rippon versus Colt McCoy, Come on, man. This matchup fucking reeks. This matchup's atrocious. James Conner should be fine. The Broncos defense is good against the pass. They're not so good against the run. So I still think James Conner could have a solid performance, but nothing that I'm elated or ecstatic about. Keontae Ingram is his handcuff. He's actually a pretty decent player, but unless James Conner goes down, knock on wood, we don't root for injuries. I don't really see Keontae Ingram really paying off. Latavius Murray's the guy. Mike Boone hurts on the IR again. They have Marlon Mack as well. The Cardinals defense is soft serve ice cream. They are absolutely terrible, but I don't want anything to do with Latavius Murray or Marlon Mack. Again, this game seems like it's going to be really low scoring, and now that I've said that, right, it's going to be a fucking shootout. Next up, we got the New England Deflatriots at the turn your volume down, the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Patriots might have Ramondre Stevenson. They might not have Ramondre Stevenson. Last week, dude, I saw this on Twitter, so I'm not going to claim that I just made this up on my head, but it's true. Don't remember who tweeted it. Imagine if you were down by like 5 points going into Monday Night Football. You have Kyler, you have Stevenson. You're like, got this shit wrapped up, baby, like a condom. This shit's easy. I'm going to go in there, beat this motherfucker's ass, and then bam, I'm going to score 5 points probably in the first 5 minutes of the game. No, now you're outside of the playoffs if you're trying to make the playoffs, if you need that win. If Stevenson doesn't play, which I think is pretty in play here, and Damian Harris plays, then I'm starting Damian Harris. But if Damian Harris doesn't play and they go with like a double head running back, no. The matchup's great. I get people are going to try to do it with the other running backs they have. Pierre Strong. Hey, Pierre, you want to come out here? Like, no. Just not doing it. Maybe I'll talk myself into it by like Thursday or Friday when I talk about the running back rankings. But right now, no bueno. Stevenson, if he plays, though, you got to play him. Josh Jacobs got hurt on Thursday Night Football, like broke his fingers, it looked like, and then he just came back in the game. Like, the game plan from head coach Josh McDaniel, that dude literally, McDaniels is a fucking idiot. Like, an all-time stooge buffoon. He needs a fucking red nose and some big shoes because that guy's a fucking clown. It is unbelievable that he still has a job with how bad he's been. They are up by a lot, so I understand, oh, let's run the ball. But why are you handing the ball to this motherfucker whose fingers are, like, broken or some shit? Like, what are you doing? Like, throw the ball a couple of times, grow a fucking pair, and then maybe you would win these games. You fucking suck ass at being a head coach, Josh McDaniels, you sorry fucking bastard. Josh Jacobs, though, is a start if he plays, like, even with fucking 3 fingers on his right hand or whatever hand might be broken. Fuck it, dude. The guy's been amazing. He is a legitimate league winner, assuming he plays the last couple of games. Zamir White is a sit, assuming Josh Jacobs plays. Next up, we got the Atlanta Titans at the LA Chargers. Hilariously, Derrick Henry has like 120 rushing yards and a touchdown in the first half of the game. And then the second half, the motherfucker gets like 15 yards. The game plan got bunched up like a piece of paper, fucking thrown out the window in the second half of the game. The Chargers matchup is not hard at all against the run. The Dolphins offense was just... Mike McDaniel also was a certified stooge last week, but he's been a good head coach for the Dolphins, so I won't drag him too much. I don't know why the fuck the Dolphins didn't run the ball. If the Titans run the ball here, they are going to have great success. Wah. Shout out to my guy Borat. Austin Eckler is a must-start as well. He didn't have the bigliest of games up against the Miami Dolphins, but I think he gets it done here up against the Titans. Again, you're not ever sitting Derrick Henry or Austin Eckler. Their backups are Dontrell Hilliard and Joshua Kelly. It was interesting to see how the Chargers used Joshua Kelly last week, but again, nothing super damning of being like, oh my god, I can't start Austin Eckler now, you know what I'm saying? Just a little interesting. Next up, we got the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. This game might be a certified ass whooping, like where one of those where you do something wrong as a kid, your dad whips out the belt and just fucking whips you down. That's the level of ass beating, but it's not one of those. It's going to actually be worse than that. This has the potential to be like where you get hit with the belt, then you get hit with the wooden spoon, and then you have to go pick out a stick outside, and then your dad fucking hits you with that shit. You know what I'm saying? It is like a triple kill type of beating here that might happen to the Buccaneers here. Joe Mixon did not play well last week. Samaje Perine ends up sneaking in, that sneaky bastard. But I think they're just going to continue to ramp up Joe Mixon's production. I don't really think that's too telling of like, oh no, we shouldn't be playing Joe Mixon anymore. I think it's more of like, they're being a little precautionary tale. George Orwell. Joe Mixon will be perfectly fine. Rashad with 2 A's White is the guy, the running back in Tampa Bay over Leonard Fournette. But again, the Buccaneers offense moves at the speed that snails have intercourse, so not very fast at all. Rachaad White is a fringe start. Mixon's a top 10 guy. Next up, we move to the Sunday Night Football game because you waited all day for Sunday night. Giants at Commanders, a NFC beast matchup. Now, I would dog this matchup, be like, oh, why are they showing this on primetime? But the Dolphins Chargers was a bad primetime game, and I'm a Dolphins fan. As even if you didn't know, you probably could have told by the rant I went on earlier. In the wide receiver video, that's where the true rant breakdown went, or the true rant happened. I don't think there was as big of a rant in this video, but maybe I'm wrong. I remember the timestamp, like at the bottom of the screen where you guys can see the timestamps. The timestamp for the Dolphins game was large like the Chargers, the whole team. If you know that song, that's a very good reference. Back on into things, the important things here. Saquon Barkley has not looked great recently. He's clearly banged up. The Commanders get Chase Young back. I'm a little panicked about this game. Now, again, you're never going to fucking sit Saquon Barkley, but what I'm telling you is that I'm not banging the drum. I'm not fucking grabbing the pan and the ding, ding, none of y'all going to sleep because of me type of deal where you're smacking the fucking pots and pans together. No, I'm not doing that. But would it surprise, in any matchup, would it surprise me if Barkley fucking erupted like a volcano, Mount Vesuvius, for fucking 30 points? Fuck no, baby. No, it wouldn't. Of course it wouldn't. That was a lot of references for just one player. But Brian Robinson, B-Rob, looks like the guy. Back-to-back games. Now, Antonio Gibson is still going to be getting touches. He's still going to get targets. So he's not going to completely, he's not like, bye-bye, see you later, pal. No, he's still going to be there. But B-Rob is the guy right now. And the Giants defense, smell that? Dog shit. They're bad. So B-Rob should be a solid start here. Matt Breida, the handcuff, is a sit. Next up, we move to the LA Rams at the Green Bay Packers. Final matchup of today's video. End of the week, Monday Night Football. Based upon what Sean McVay said earlier, really does seem like this is another Baker Mayfield game. I don't know why anyone would have thought that it wouldn't be Baker, but I'm just trying to reiterate the confidence in you that Baker is going to be the guy this week. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are both starts. I am miles ahead of confidence in terms of Aaron Jones, but we all know that A.J. Dillon bastard is going to run in and score a touchdown or something. The Rams defense is pretty fucking bad. Let's just keep it a buck. Like, they're bad against the run, so Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon could both have a field day. They could form an Eiffel Tower over the Rams defense. Aaron Donald ain't going to play, so Aaron Jones is going to be a start. A.J. Dillon, it's so fucking gross, but yeah, he's kind of one of those bottom-of-the-barrel guys. Cam Akers, if you made the argument that you wanted to start Akers over A.J. Dillon, I would get it, but Kyron Williams is definitely a sit. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you ended up enjoying today's video, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. Make sure that you check out our sponsorship, again, with DraftKings Sportsbook. Bet $5 on any sport pregame money line until December 30th, and you'll receive $150 in free bets if your bet wins. Again, tonight, we are going with Texas Tech money line versus Eastern Washington. So thank you guys all so much for watching. I love you guys all. Hope you all have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, I'll see you guys tomorrow with some more videos. Good boy!